Okay.
Okay, this is a correct but not interesting picture of the bird. Its face doesn't have any expression. This is a bird that kills for a living. It's a carnivore, so you want to give that look. Whenever you're carving owls, hawks, eagles, other raptors, you want them to have a look like they're that. So what I've done is I couldn't find a blue-bellied roller the way I wanted, but I did find another roller that we can use his face instead. That is the face that I want to use. The bill is essentially the same. Obviously the color is not. It's not to scale. It's much, much too big. It has an angry look, and it's a carnivore raptor. The thing you notice though is the eye channel, where the eye is going to sit, is down underneath quite a bit. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. Notice the width of the bill at the bottom and the width of the bill at the top, center line like that. Those things will come into account later on. Here's another picture of the blue-bellied roller. It's obviously an illustration, not a photograph, but it's an excellent one for the tail. It shows the center feather here. It shows that there are 12 rectrices. Also notice that the entire length of the feather is 6 centimeters. That's really unimportant because the tail ends up way up in this area up in here. So the entire length would be 6 centimeters. And you can see that it's very pointy at the end, and then in under here it changes quite a bit of shape. I'll show you how the shape changes in a little while. It actually looks more like this. In this drawing you can see the alula is put in, so the artist was paying attention to that. You notice here that there are many, many very close layers of the primaries and secondaries. If you carved them like that, they'd be very, very difficult to paint and have the edges show up the way you want. So we're going to delete the number. We're going to have fewer numbers than that, and so give us a chance to see. Also, you can see what the hind toe looks like. They're very nice. And there's only 6 of the greater coverts that are showing. Notice the tip of the bill. Now, because of the bill, normally we carve from the back to the front, but looking at the tip of the bill and at these feathers here, you're going to need to lay off of those areas until the end. Otherwise, you're going to risk breaking them. Here's another photograph. Looking down from the top of the head, it shows about the size of the bill that you want, and something called the ear coverts, which would be the widest part of the head. You notice you can't see the eyes here because of the fluffiness over the eyes. That means the eye channels are fairly deep, and we're going to have to show that. I will give you some other time 3 locations that you can find feathers, and this happens to be one of them. This shows all the primaries and secondaries. It shows you the tail rectrices. Unfortunately, you can only see part of the tail feather there. I'll have to get another picture to show you what that tail feather looks like, which is very important because on the other underside, it's quite a bit different. Here's some more pictures of that from the exact same site, showing you the secondary feathers, primary feathers, so on and so forth. And we go back to this drawing again, which is the one that we use for the basis of the cutout. You'll notice I have this line here. You want to measure these things carefully when you put them on. So this one will be from something called a gape, which is where the mouth opens up to the tip of the bill. That's one important measurement. From the center of the eye to the tip of the bill is another important measurement. The height of the bill is an important measurement. And the last one is not marked. Is from where the feathers start to the tip of the bill. That's called a culmen, and that has to also be very carefully done. Again, notice there's a very short little tip on there that we want to be careful of. Stop. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. What I've done here is cut out some of the extra stuff here. You notice also that the feather's still way too thick. So I drew basically the arc in here for that. From the drawings, either this one or the other one, I've drawn in roughly what the feathers look like. There happens to be 12 feathers, which is very similar very typical rather of birds. 12 rectus feathers. I'll show you how we're going to lay those out in a little while. Now, going back to the head, what I've done is I've just drawn in a little bit of the side view. using these measurements we talked about just before, so that we have a general idea. What we're going to do is take off the X here and the X there, and then redraw some of the lines. You're going to be redrawing the lines constantly. You can also see I put in approximately the width of the bill and how it digs in there. And this is the end of the bill, you notice, is the eye channel. If you look at this drawing, the end of the bill becomes the eye channel. Maybe just a little bit of a dip down instead. Stop.
Okay.
Okay, what we're going to do is use a cylinder with a rounded end, and we're just going to relieve these feathers here a little bit. You can see we're not anywhere near the depth we need, but we just want to make these feathers look the way they should. So we'll turn this on. You stop there.
Okay.
Okay, you can see now what I've done is just rough these out a little bit. To get these a little bit smoother, you can take a piece of sandpaper and contact cement it onto a popsicle stick. Then when you're sanding these down, they won't have all the ripples in them that they need. So what I'll do by the next time you see, I will have these sanded down. One thing I will do too is come on the edges of these and sand down the edges so that it curves over. Feathers curve. Now these are stiff flight feathers, so they're pretty much straight this way, but they curve this way. Body feathers bend in all three dimensions. So what we'll do is we'll just sand those down so the next time you see them, they'll look more like feathers. The other thing we're going to do here is we're going to take a cutter here. It can be almost anything. It's another could fit in a Dremel tool. And I'm going to get rid of this other stuff on the top of the bill and on the bottom of the bill. Stop.